it that talented people want to work for an organization, and it blindfolds organizations to recognize their exposure to risks in complicated countries where public institutions are weak or failing. I truly welcome Manpower's engagement in the Compact. For a service-oriented company, the Global Compact is especially relevant. Manpower understands the need of having an ethical framework to make sure that its operations, wherever they are at least meeting a minimum requirement. I applaud Manpower's efforts and I encourage the implementation.
Thank you very much, Torin, for queuing up the video. And now let's dig in for another round of questions. Thank you all so much for the first session. Those answers were very illuminating and interesting. Chuck Bartles, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly.
That's fine.
All right, excellent. The depth of Manpower's commitment to social responsibility permeates the company's sphere of influence in 80 labor markets globally. Can you share with us some of the core values and their impact on the world of work?
Well, I'm delighted to do so, especially in light of a conversation about the UN Global Compact. Our core values are really key, and they're people, innovation, and knowledge. I think the people part is really critical for the conversation today because we are really interested in people and honor the dignity of work in the lives of people. And, you know, Manpower's been around for 60 years and have had that sense, we have had that sense as a company and as individuals of holding the trust of the value of dignity of work in the lives of individuals. And I think that's probably one of the strong reasons that you find us in Second Life today. It's a way of being a thought leader and staying ahead so that we are in tune with people and we can meet people wherever they are, in whichever community they may be. So as we go about the work that we do, that's really the first cut at social responsibility. We try to do our work very well, and it's honorable work. We're putting people to work. We're helping organizations be more effective. If organizations have to change, we help them change in a way that is dignified to outplace people. When you come to these other issues of disaster recovery and human trafficking, these are huge issues, and we know we can only play a part that's so large. And in many cases, it's raising awareness. But if you look at them carefully, they are all about work in people's lives. Disaster recovery we see as getting people back to work to help provide some stability. We see and human trafficking as this an address about this terrible idea of slavery. I mean, there's nothing less dignified than that. So we stand for people, for the environment in which people operate. We stand for quality communities that help individuals and help our business and other businesses prosper. It's a deep commitment on our part, and it makes sense to our business, obviously. We want good people doing good work in our communities for strong enterprises that allow our communities to flourish. We like to take our part in that and have done so very seriously over all these years. And we're going to look and see what our part is in Second Life and try to understand that better as time goes on.
Well, one interesting thing about what you just said about looking at Second Life and seeing how that changes, how that relationship changes is, when I first heard about Second Life, I had just finished spending 6 months in the Gulf Coast writing a report called Big Easy Money, Disaster Profiteering on the American Gulf Coast. And and I had never heard of virtual worlds at that point, although about a month after it was published, I did. And one of the things that struck me, because I interviewed countless people who had lost their jobs and lost their careers when the infrastructure of the Gulf Coast was destroyed, one of the things that strikes me is that working virtually allows a person's office, if you will, to continue operating even if the infrastructure of their community is destroyed. In other words, if they're forced to relocate and they lose everything in one swoop, it seems that the advent of the Internet and virtual worlds in particular allow people at least the solace of understanding that they can still continue with their career, and similarly, the communities that get built in virtual spaces will continue. So if you, by some, and one thing I learned in the Gulf Coast is it can happen to anyone at any time, and you just never know. So it's interesting to me the stabilizing effect of having at least some major part of your life continue. And work is a very significant part of people's lives and allows people to continue with their livelihood even when they're in a crisis. And so it's very heartening to know that Manpower is looking at disaster relief, I found. And Jeff, I'm wondering if you want to add to Chuck's thoughts on the subject of Manpower's commitment to social responsibility.
Yeah, I'd love to. It's something that is so deep as part of the DNA that we derive a tremendous amount of energy as a team, and 35,000 people around the world. So what's happening in China right now is we're trying to build some schools in there where the earthquakes had caused so much damage, or the tsunami in India, and these things mean a tremendous amount to our people. So I really believe that there's a way that companies can do this in a fiscally responsible way and really energize and create a sense of passion within the company. And when we do our surveys of people in our own organization, one of the things that really resonates is they want to be part, particularly the younger generation. They want to be part of a company who is doing something socially responsible and not doing it in a kind of plastic way, but in a way that is deep-rooted within the culture. And that means that you just got to keep talking about it and keep talking about it when times are not as good, a la now, when the economy is down a little, or times are really good. So then it becomes part of the DNA. I'd also like to shift that, what will be interesting, and some of the things that I'm thinking about is what will be some of the social responsibility impacts on virtual worlds. Are there ways to create ways of better thinking that when there is an issue, whether it be the issue that happened in China or the issue that might be happening in whatever natural disaster that comes, are there ways that we can capture within Second Life ideas and energize the Second Life community as we have our employee population? So for us, it's part of our DNA. It's something we're proud of. It's not something we have to fake at all, and I think that means that we are a more passionate and energized company.
That seems very evident. And meaningful work and fair payment, these subjects are a huge part of social responsibility. We have a couple questions from the audience. I'm going to direct first to Philip and then to Tammy, okay? One of the questions that's coming up frequently here we have from Tara Yates. How do you see the disparity between the payment in Linden and comparable real-life wages being addressed? Philip, you had mentioned to me about the stabilizing effect over time. I'm wondering if you can just address that issue in response to that question first off.
Sure. Broadly, Second Life is obviously a very rich, interacting marketplace. There are about $1 million a day U.S. in transactions, goods and services between people in Second Life today. Certainly those transactions include, many of the sorts of examples that we're talking about and thinking about today of people working together in the virtual world. Because the market is so rich, so